becoming God's people. Becoming God's people. Well, imagine now that Moses, and the trigger verse where we started, the launch verse really is Exodus chapter 33, where Moses is saying to God, oh God, if you will not go with us, we don't want to go anywhere. Promise me that your presence will go with us. And God is like, okay, that's fine. I will go with you. I will go with you. So now, what you see in Moses is a person who invited God's presence, a person who sees God's glory, a person who received and heard God's word. God spoke to him. He saw God's presence. The goodness of God passed before him. God wrote with his handwriting on tablets for Moses to take down to... I mean, what an unbelievable, incredible, amazing moment. Mountaintop experience. But life doesn't get lived just on the mountain. At some point, you got to go down to the valley. When I imagine if God does all of that and then God says, okay, Moses, now you got my reassurance. Go down now to the people. And Moses is like, oh no, I am not going. I'm staying here forever. I think God will say, well, don't do the next thing again. What do you mean you're staying here? I just promise you I'll go with you. He's like, oh, no. I love your presence. I love your presence. I'm not going. What do you think God would do? Do you think God would say, oh, Moses, that's why I like you. You love me, I love you. Yeah, let's just stay together. I don't think so. You see, the more you get to know God, the more you realize how much God loves people. Even, in fact, especially unlovable people. So if Moses says, I love your presence so much, I'll just do this bit. I won't do the bit with the people. I'll just stay on the mountaintop, I won't go to the valley. I'll just do Sundays, I won't go to the small groups. I'll just do this, I won't do life. God will say, you don't get it. The mountaintop moments are supposed to set you up for mission moments in the valley. If Moses says he won't go, it is very clear in my mind and by evidence of the scriptures that God will look for somebody else from the valley. He'll find somebody else, bring them close, show them his presence, and let that person go down to meet and lead his people. He wanted somebody who will lead his people, love his people, demonstrate his love for his people. That's why I want to say to you then, we've been having such amazing moments, mountaintop moments. I thank God for it, and may it never end in Jesus' name. May it never end. But life is lived in the valley. The good news is this. It doesn't mean you have moments with God that you're going to do valley. No, it means you have moments with God, and then he goes with you into the valley. He goes with you. And it becomes your responsibility and job to live with the consciousness of his presence, with the consciousness of his very, very good presence. Well, if you're going to go down then to the valley, and let's just say it begins with the small group, once again I want to ask, what is your small group like? Because different kinds of people are in small groups, as you well know. Because there are different personalities. I've shared this with you before. You know, you got the sanguine person who is very active. You got the choleric kind of person, you know, very decisive and organized, and there's a way they want to do life. You got the melancholic person who is very touchy-feely. I could cry any moment, you know, kind of a person. You know, you got the phlegmatic person who just wants to chill. Cool, babe, cool. All kinds of different people. In the small group. And I've written about this recently, just made me laugh because it dawned on me afresh, really, it's true. Now, in every small group, you have some people, you might want to call them the dominators. They dominate everything. They are louder than everyone. They have more opinions than everybody. They talk over everyone. You know, if somebody else, you know, you finally have somebody in the group who never talks, very quiet, comes regularly. On this day, they decide to talk. They say, you know, well, I think what we might... The dominator doesn't even realize they're talking. Just talks right over them. And secondly, they say. And you know, they dominate everything. You know, one of the things about all this kind of every personality group for the most part, people are unaware. I know you're sitting down right now thinking, yeah, tell me, I know someone like that in the group. They're all thinking about you right now. They're all thinking about you. You right now sitting there, they'll all be like, yeah, we know it's you. The dominator. And then you got the gladiator one. The gladiator is the one who wants to fight everything. Just everything is a fight. Every little thing. They oppose everything. You know, they oppose the government. They oppose their boss. They oppose the council. They oppose their neighbor. Everything is, even just icebreaker time. Anyone for cake? They're angry. How could any living soul be angry at cake? Cake was made from heaven. Why would it? They're angry that, oh, we shouldn't be eating cake. Do you know how many calories are in that cake? People have died because of cake. Should be banned. Oh, you spoiled the small group. It's not even 8:15 yet. That's the gladiator. They fight all the time. And then you got the manipulator. Oh, don't be fooled by manipulators, because often, oh, they're quiet. They're very quiet. But before you finish that small group, everything will be about them. In their quietness. But you can say, you know what? Somebody died, I heard on the bus today. Something nasty happened. The manipulator will simply go, are you okay? No, I'm fine. Like, are you okay? Is there something we should do? Is someone... Leave me. So before you know it, everything is about them. Now, everyone gets like that once in a while, and that's good. We want a place where you can be open, a good, safe place. But when it's every single week, no one else gets a looking. Oh, the manipulator is very clever at manipulating. And then you got the terminator. Oh, yeah, you got the terminator. These are the ones where their contributions are basically very unhelpful. We could be having a very, very good discussion. When they do their contribution, it is so bad, everybody's just silent. They've killed it, terminated it. Salt under. They've killed everything. I mean, you don't know where to go. The leader doesn't know where to go, and so on. That's a terminator for you. Not very helpful. Then you got the poser. Oh, the poser. When they come into the small group, they don't say much, but when they come in, the way they sit, unbelievable. The way they move, like a panther. The problem is they have nothing to say. The poser. And usually the poser, if they do speak, they only want to say something profound. So profound that when they say it, everybody's going to be like, oh, never heard it like that before. The one problem with the poser, though, when they finish saying it, everybody's confused. Everybody's confused. The leader is confused. They are confused. It doesn't help anybody. That's the poser. Then you got the spectator who just comes there to look. Yeah. You ever seen that Meerkat advert? The spectator comes, they never say anything, and so you never know with the spectator, are you okay? Are you not okay? Do you know what's going on? Do you know we're in England? The spectator is just like that. Well, we could go on and on and on. I got to say this, you got at least one of these in your group. You do. By the way, if you have all of these in your group, may Jesus be with you. Because I have no answers for you. Okay, phone Pastor Chris. I suspect he will not have no group deserves to have all these kinds of people. We have all of them. It's worse when one person has 3 of those things going. Just one. So that on the day they are not there, you're like, oh, what a great small group we had. I'll tell you the good news. The good news is this. Is that Jesus had a small group. And his small group was even more dysfunctional than yours. It was more dysfunctional. Because he has someone like Simon Peter who could talk himself into trouble, talk everybody into problems. That was Simon Peter. He wanted to lead the whole time, but frankly, you'd be like, Shush. That was Simon Peter. And then you got people like Matthew the tax collector. Think about it now. He was a tax collector. That is, imagine now the Israelites are under occupation by the Romans. So the Romans are the enemy. A few Israelites actually went to the Romans to work for them. Not just to work for them, and this is the job they gave to them. Go back to your people and force them to pay taxes. And tell us whoever is not paying taxes so we can go and deal with them. That's what tax collectors were. They weren't just nice government officials. They were traitors. He was in Jesus' small group, tax collector. It gets worse. He had someone like Simon the Zealot. There were the people who, they were Israelites. They hated the Romans. So they would go and create problems with firearms. And so they were terrorists. They were terrorists against the Romans. Jesus put both those people in the same small group. Think about it now. The zealot is like, we must destroy these Romans. The tax collector is working for them. What do you think that discussion is like in the small group? Every time, if they come together, they're going to start fighting. Jesus has to separate them. Hold it each time. They're all in Jesus' small group. Oh, he had people like Mary Magdalene who joined his crew. With all the demonic problems she had and the lifestyle that she lived. People like Susanna, people like Joanna, Luke chapter 8, I think it is. Some of these women, wealthy women who supported his ministry and went with him. Jesus had all sorts in his group. And this is what is most amazing to me about his group. The people were not allocated to his group. And he's thinking, this is not fair, Pastor Chris. This is not fair. Allocating these people to my group, it's not going to work. Oh, no. He went round, Jesus. He went round. He found them. Then he chose them that he might change them. That's what he did. He went looking for the worst of them. The outcast and the alcoholic and the traitor and the thief and the liar. He had the foreigner and the immigrant. He had the rich and the poor. That's Jesus. He brought them all. So once again, what's your small group like? I hope your small group is like Jesus' small group, and then goes beyond that to having Jesus' kind of effect on the lives of the people. People need help. People need love. People need a safe place where they can do relationships. People need healthy places where they will not be hated or condemned, allowed to live, but not left with the bad habits, but loved into correction. People need those kinds of places. And we live in a world today where, I'm telling you, relationships are hard. And friendships, the basic level of relationship you might like beyond your family, is really, really hard to make. A good friendship is where there is mutual benefits and mutual giving and blessing one another. And that's what God wants for us to have in our small groups, where there is mutuality of love. Mutuality of love. We live in a world that really needs that. I know people think just go online and make a friend. It doesn't work. And then when the person you don't know unfriends you, you break down in tears. Though you don't know them. You just feel upset. And then you start saying, how can they unfriend me? They don't even know me. That's why they unfriended you. Do you not understand? It's a strange world in which we live. If I could break it down for you, I was sharing this with the small group leaders recently, and I thought it would be great for the whole church to get it so that we're all on the same page. That if we could break down life into the physical and into the spiritual and into the emotional. I've got some diagrams that may help you. We're going to go here together. The first set of tanks you see there are a life that is a full life, physically fit. When I say physical, not just physically the body, but every area of life and finances, just everything is going so well. And then you got the spiritual side. On the spiritual side, it's like they're connected to God, they're moving on with God, they're full with God. And then you got the emotional side. Put the diagrams back up. You got the emotional side. And then they're also full in the emotional side. All right. Then let's just go to now you need to be like Jesus to be like that, okay? Just full. In fact, Jesus was overflowing. All right? But go to the next one. In the next one now, what you have is the average life. It's just an average life. And in this average life, what you have here is that, is a person who just comes grew up in a nice family, mom, father, house, mortgage paid, went to university, got a job, married now, just doing life as they go, but not a Christian. So you can see the deficit there when it comes to the spiritual. They got friends emotionally, it's all good. Then you go to the next one. Now, this is a person who is a non-Christian, but he is intentional about life. He's not just come see, come sir. No, he's going to make this life work. So this kind of person, they go for exercise. Their body is trim and fit. Their finances are in order. When it comes to the spiritual, they're like, you know what? I don't do the whole spiritual God, Jesus, Bible stuff. I have nothing to do with that. Religion causes problems and fights. I don't care about that. When it comes to the emotional side, though, oh my goodness me, they're full. And they have friends. They go bicycle riding, kayaking, emotionally. They're so healthy. All of that. Then you go to the Christian one. The Christian life, first of all, the physical one, this is like a very good Christian, an unbelievable Christian. I'm telling you, look at the physical one. At best, it is average. Why? Christians hate exercise. I know you lot. You hate exercise. They're all like, oh, I just hate exercise. Jesus will take care of it one day. In the body temple, they find some verse, and they're like, I can't go. To be honest, I'm describing myself there. But never mind. But when it comes to the spiritual, look at the spiritual tank for this kind of. This is a super duper Christian. He can bind the devil. He can hear God. He can have dinner with the angels. He's an unbelievable Christian. Look at his emotional tank. No friends. That's you lot. Too many Christians have no friends. At best, they'll probably have one, and they're going to use that one to death. Every problem, they're going to beat that one friend onto the friend is going to be looking for ways to escape from this friendship. Why? You're the only one I've got, and I'm going to ride you into the ground. That's Christian. They don't have friends. This is an important thing. Because I'm trying to tell you this. By and large, particularly in a church like ours, by the grace of God, we have moments like this, worship moments like this. We hear the word. There's such unity, oneness, friendship that happens in a very general sense. But I'm trying to say to you, that is not enough. It's not enough. You need those places and those people that over time you just build some kind of relationship and camaraderie and a oneness in there. And have a fighting chance of developing, who knows, maybe even real good, deep friendships. And you need some kind of a place and platform for that to happen. Small groups creates that opportunity. No wonder Jesus had a small group. He called 12 people that they might be with him. That they might be with him. And I want to say this to you. You need it more than you realize. You need it more than you realize. Friendship is not networking where people come together for profits and what they can gain from one another. Friendship is not just teamwork where people come together for a task. Friendship is not just cliques where people come together to be exclusive. It's more than that. It's more than that. It's where there is mutuality of hearts. And when people don't find it in the world, they should find it in the church. When they don't find it in the world, they should come into a church and feel like, it just feels different. It's like everybody's happy. It's like everybody, they should feel it and not even be able to define it early on. Just think, what is it about that place that makes me feel good? But if they can't find it in the world and they can't find it in the church, a deep kind of loneliness settles into their soul and life becomes unbearable. And that's a terrible thing. I think what's even worse is that many people have simply lost the capacity to make friends. It's like a Lego, Lego with so many connection points. If you've got 6 connection points, you can glue so many more. Many people are reduced to just 1 connection point. And even that one is wearing out. They don't know how to make friends anymore. That's why I love the younger generation Oh, they'll make friends like that. They'll talk to people like that. But when it comes to when you get to that kind of 35, 40, 45, you begin to get just a little bit exclusive. You have 2 or 3 people, and if they can't make the party, everything is there. They can't make the evening, everything goes. And I'm trying to say this to you. The emotional side of you is going to just get fried up and burnt out. You need some place where there are people you know vaguely, you don't know that well, and it trains your spirit and your heart and your soul back into learning how to make friends. It's why I want to say this to you. The small group is a perfect place for you to begin to do that. And the way for you to do that is this. Not go around life saying, I have no friend, I wish somebody would make me their friend. But this is number one, be a friend. You be a friend. Just like Jesus said, John chapter 15. He said, I no longer call you servants, I now call you friends. You decide, I'm going to be a friend. That's the way, that's how it turns, that's how it works. You switch it around, I will be one. So now you go around looking for how to befriend somebody else. That's how you're going to make friends. But if you're just waiting for someone to come befriend you, it's the least way for this thing to work. Be a friend. And that involves a number of things. Number one, it involves your atmosphere. When your small group is together, what is the atmosphere like? You want it to be a joy-filled atmosphere. And you know who's responsible for that? I am. Everybody say, I am. Yeah, don't say Tope is. I mean you. Who is responsible for the atmosphere in your small group? You really are. And the Lord heard you say that now. So you're responsible. You want it to be a joy-filled, laughing place. You don't want it to be a classroom where we've come to do Bible study. No, you want it to be a wonderful place of joy that you look forward to it because it's life-giving. What you don't want, this is what can happen in a small group that is not so good. This is the word I thought of, awkward. You know those awkward moments? Awkward moments are just awkward. They really are. You know, if this sends a new person to your small group, they come knocking at the door, you know, and you're hosting the group. It's in your house, you're hosting it. You know, usually you're rushing, you come back from work, you know, angry with everybody, and kick the cat. You know, why do you even have a cat in the first place? Never mind. Kick the cat, you know, and all of this kind of thing. Then the bell goes, you know, who is that? It's the new guy that's sent to your house for small group. It's his first time. He loved the Sunday so much, he's like, oh my goodness me, I'm going to be there. So he goes to a small group. But of course, you're rushing, you come down this step, nearly a trip, you open the door, you're like, you know, you look at it, you don't recognize him. Because all they sent you was the name. You didn't even bother checking the name. I can't read that name, it's too long. Now you open the door, like, uh-huh. I mean, this is no way to answer a door, but uh-huh. Because in your mind, you know what you're thinking? You're thinking, we only have 3 kinds of visitors in this house. We have postmen delivering parcels. We have Christians whom I know well. And we have Jehovah's Witnesses. And you're looking like the third one to me. So you get the, uh-huh. And the guy, oh, sorry, I was looking for the small group. No, wait. What do you say, small group? Oh, small group. Oh! Okay. You have just failed. Which do you think he's going to remember? The ha 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 ha, which you switched on in a moment, so he knows fake, or the look you gave him. When you I mean, he was ready to go to anybody else's house but yours. Okay, now you invite him in. He comes to the living room. So that initial moment was awkward. Now you put him in the living room. Television is off, you know. We're Christian, we don't want television. Liar. You're always watching it, except for small group evening. But then you turn it off, you know, put some curtain over it, or something weird. Somebody's got this weird thing like that. But of course, the new guy, he's the first one to come, so he's sitting there by himself. While you say, I'll be right back, you go back into the kitchen to do all these ablutions you're doing in the kitchen. The person is there by themselves. Do you know how awkward that is? It's the most awkward thing on the planet. You're in somebody else's house. You don't think you should love it. By the way, in their mind, they're thinking, how can I get out of this? How can I run? It's it's a bit like a man going to a lingerie shop with his wife. Look, I want to give you advice. Don't do it. That's my advice to you. Don't say your pastor doesn't help you. Don't do it. Just stand outside the door. If I don't stand outside the door, stand outside the door of the faith shop. Say, meet me here. Because on day one, when you don't know what you're doing, but yeah, I'll go with you anyway. You know, we're married, whatever. Then you get in there. Halfway, you, but I can't look. I don't want to. Please let Victoria keep her secrets. I want nothing to do with it. I don't. It's just totally awkward. And then somebody else comes into the small group, and you open the door, you know them. You be like, oh, you hug them. Everybody hugs everybody in this small group. The guy or the girl who is new in the group is like, hiya. Then they hug each other. How hard is that? When that person finishes the group that night, the whole time they're looking at the time, oh my gosh, it's only 8:35. I'm dead today. As soon as the group finishes, they get in their car, they do 90 miles an hour in any direction. And they're like, it's the last time I'm gonna come. Even when you ask them, will you come next week? They're like, you know what, Lord, it's worth telling this lie. Yes, I will come. Never coming. You'll be like, I'll just do church. I won't do small group. You know what happens to people who just do church and not small group? They end up on the fringe. You know what happens to people who end up on the fringe, on the edge? At some point, when life hits hard with a tornado, they fall off. You know what happens to people who fall off? They end up alone. And often it can become fatal. Eventually, where's such and such and such and such? They fell off the grid and nobody noticed. Because they weren't in a small group, you say, no. They gave it a go. And nobody realized this is a critical part of their walk with Christ. The atmosphere matters. Secondly, your attitude matters. That is, you want to have an attitude that is just totally, I want to give, not I want to take. Your acceptance matters. That is, you want to love them, not judge them. You want to love, not judge. All of these things are critical. Not just do you have to be a friend, secondly, real quickly, you have to learn to expect an encounter. That when we come together, I'm telling you right now, as your pastor, the primary thing is this: learn to make friends. Learn to let the atmosphere be a friendly atmosphere. Because a friendly atmosphere becomes a life-giving atmosphere. It really is. A life-giving atmosphere. I told you before, a long time ago, I went to an AA meeting. Not because I'm an alcoholic. I'm not. Actually, I took somebody, they got sponsors. I sponsored somebody and I went. After that, I just liked going. I went 2 or 3 other times. Just to see how broken people do community. So open. They share, even when they're falling off the wagon, they'll say it. And they still get encouragement from everyone. But why do they come back? They come back because when you speak to them, they'll talk and say, to be honest, it's just like family. They don't say, oh, no, the principles that they give are very helpful. No, they learn the principles by demonstrating love for one another and towards one another. And no matter how much they're falling off the wagon, they come back. It's the best group. That's how it ought to be. Expect an encounter. When you come together, you want an encounter in the midst of the goodness and the friendship and the loving one another. Yes, there is a word section, but I want to say this to you. The idea is not to go through every line of a word section. The word section really becomes a vehicle for community to happen. That's what it is. Which means that there will probably be some weeks where your small group leader says, you know what, we're probably not going to go through the word section today. I just felt we'll talk about, and we go in that direction. Absolutely permissible. This is a good idea. Why? The issue is good relationships being formed, not principles being learned. Not principles being learned. There are a lot of people who've learned principles and are not. No connection with God, no connection with people. And yet, when you have those moments going through word section, you may find that actually there's one bit here that it just speaks to all of us. That's just we're going to stay there. We don't have to work our way through every little thing, every little verse. It's not a test. It's really not. And so we go through. In the end, this is what you're looking for in the word section. It's life application. In other words, it's a story. You want to share your life. Something that happened to you today, yesterday, long time ago, a friend of yours. And you're sharing life. And in the middle of all that will come, yeah, that happened to me before. C.S. Lewis said, you know your friends when somebody else says, you too? I love that. When you get to the point where you can say, oh, you too? Friendship happens when you begin to realize what happened to you happened to me. And this is how I came across. This is the help I need. And lives get just sewn together. You'll be amazed where you can get help from. If you will have your heart open. Have your heart open to expect an encounter in the Word. Not just that, expect an encounter in the worship. Where the worship time may involve the singing of songs, it may not. In the New Testament, Acts chapter 13, and you don't have the verse there from verses 1 to 3, it says this, and as they were ministering to the Lord, and it describes them worshiping and praying. It could be singing with songs, worship, but it could even just be praying for one another. It could just be praying for one another. But be open. Because in the midst of that moment, there can be moments of ministering to each other, ministering to one another. Where I just feel the Lord say this, and prophetic words can begin to come, and encouragement begins to come. That's the way it ought to be in worship, in the Word, in worship, and then in welfare, caring for one another. Caring for one another. All these levels are important. Being a friend is critical. Opening to an encounter is important. But let me tell you, what I believe is the biggest reason you should be in a small group. And it's probably not what you think. You probably think it's to have an encounter. Well, we have encounters with the Lord when we come together in large moments like this. I'll tell you a big reason. It's simply this. That for you to fulfill the Great Commission, you need to be in a small group. The Great Commission is this, when Jesus says, go therefore into all the nations and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them all that I have commanded you. And then he says, lo, I will be with you always. Those words there, go, make, and then disciples. It's not just a big, wide church corporate thing. Of course, it's that. But before it can be that, it is first of all, each person recognizing it as a personal call. Your Lord has called you to go and make disciples. Tell me, how are you doing that? How exactly are you doing that? Because this is his last command, Matthew chapter 28, the book ends there. When you get to him, how are you going to say you did it? Who are you discipling? And how? What is the process? Because the call, the Great Commission, is a personal call to you in your life. That having saved you, he tells you do this. And this is just a worrying thing. That there are many Christians who are not doing this. And when you don't do this, God becomes a give me, Lord, help me, Lord, be with me, Lord, just me, Lord. You flip it around to you-centered instead of God-centered. And he called you to do the Great Commission. It is a personal call that requires a personal commitment so that you can, and then you will receive a personal reward. In other words, you need to become a leader. When he says, go, make it happen. We say something about make it happen. Go, make disciples. It takes a leader to do that. It takes a disciple who is a leader to do that. And the way to do it, you might want to write these down. Accept the challenge. Accept that the Lord has spoken this to you. Accept the challenge in your life. Lord, I do want to be a leader. That's what you've been called to be. But otherwise, if you won't do this, you'll keep looking for your calling in life. You get a feel for it, but it will never reach its zenith. Because this is what he's called you to do. This is what it's called. And if you ignore it, it's a danger. You need to accept the challenge. You need to then enter the process. There is a process there. Don't be shocked if ever your small group leader comes to you and says, would you mind coming just 10 minutes before this actual small group? You and I can just have a little bit of a chat. Come 10 minutes afterwards. Would you mind just being a number 2 just to help me and we can do this thing together? It's about time you serve God in a serious way, not in a convenient way. It means you're going to give up a few minutes here and there to fulfill the Great Commission that your master commanded you to do. It's worth it. You need to accept the challenge. You need to decide that you're going to enter the process, and then you need to prioritize the kingdom. That is, you put the kingdom as priority, way high up. Too often we put ourselves way high up, put our family, our children, our spouse, husband, relationships that I have or I don't have. All these things tend to trump what the Lord said to you, go make disciples. He said, the way I will be with you, when God said to Moses, I will be with you, Moses was going to do something. He was on mission. Unless you are on mission, you are forfeiting what he really wants to do by being with you. When he says, I will be with you as you go. Be with you as you go. Close by telling you this. In Matthew chapter 25, Jesus tells 3 parables, of which one of those parables is the parable of the talents. He talked about the guy that had 5 talents, 1, 3, and 1. He said the master gave them the talents. And when the master gave them the talents, he said, go and trade. I'm going away for a while. He said, I'll soon come back. Just like Jesus will soon come back. And just like he's giving you talents. When the master came back, he went to the guy with 5 talents. He said to him, what have you done? The guy with 5 talents says this. He said, I had 5 and I've traded in. I have 5 more. And he says, well done, good, faithful servant. Enter into the joy. There's another level you get to enter into. Goes to the guy who had just, 2 talents or 3 talents. He said, how many did you? He said, I had 3. I've made 3 more. He said, well done. Great. Well done. Enter into the joy, faithful servant. The same thing he says to the one with 5, he says to the one with 3. Enter into the joy. This is how people enter into the joy. They're on the master's business. And then he has the guy who has 1 talent. And he says, you gave me 1, I'm bringing you back 1. And the master says, really? That's it? Yeah, he says, the one you gave me, I brought it back. I'll tell you what my concern is in this life. Let's just say I am a 5-talent person. The idea is not, oh, well done, you're amazing. No. You know what he's expecting back from me? 5 talents. Not 3, not 2, not 1, not 4. 5, that's what he expects back from me. And sometimes, if you're a 2-talent guy, you see a 5-talent guy, you think, oh, he's doing amazing things. Be careful. Because he might just be doing 3 out of the 5. Really? In which case, the Lord will not be best pleased. There's some of you with 5 talents, you're gifted. You have a life so well lived, so blessed. You got your job, you got your wife, you got everything going so well for you. Solid, you're able and stable and capable. And still, the one thing your master said to do, you won't do. Oh, the small group, I went there once, it's all children. I want a group that's solid people like me to be in. Really? And you're forfeiting what he called you to do. With your 5 talents, you're setting up to show him 1 in the end. It's one of the things that concerns me about my own life. I'm supposed to spend it completely for him. How are you spending yours? There's some of you, you got 3 talents. Oh, you got 1 back to show him. Why? You're using the rest of your talents for yourself. You got your job going for yourself. You got your bank account, it's all for you. Everything is for you. And God is there to make sure that it's all well provided for you. Maybe you're not the Christian you think you are. Maybe you're not. You're supposed to by now be a leader, Paul says. By now you should be a leader in God's house. A leader, you don't have to be up front preaching. You can be a pastor to 3 people, a pastor to 2 people, a pastor to 5 people. There's no other place that thing is going to happen effectively but in the context of a small group. But you won't enter the process. Listen to me, we're in days where the reaper will overtake the harvester. The Bible says that they're still planting it, and those to harvest it come and they overtake. You know what the Bible is saying? There'll be those who give their lives to Christ in 1 week, 1 Sunday, and by the following Sunday, they'll be completely on mission. They'll be leading something for God. They don't have to know it all. But because they're going, he is with them, teaching them, talking to them, helping them, directing them, loving them, guiding them. And then they're raising more disciples than you've been in the kingdom all these years. And you got nothing to show? The guy with 1 talent comes up and says, you gave me 1, and I have the 1 for you. Here you go. Oh, you need to go read the response of the master to that person. He says, you wicked and you lazy. He says, you're wicked. That is, you don't care about anybody else. There are people going to hell all around. You don't care. There are people who need help. You don't care. You have enough wherewithal, wisdom, finances to help that guy next door. You don't need a church program, but you don't care. You just care about yourself and your own children. You cannot do this Christian life that way. You can't. It says you're wicked and you're lazy. You're slothful. So you're tired after work every time. But if they ask you to stay for overtime, oh, you got all the energy. They ask you to stay for a new program to fly you to someplace. Oh, you got all the energy. So that God gets the dregs of your life. And you don't even realize it. Because maybe nobody ever told it to you straight. I have decided I will not be that kind of Christian. I won't. I won't be that kind of Christian. I want that as for me, and God help me and my family, we're going to serve the Lord. That's why I rejoice in so many of you. You open your house to host people and letting the presence of God come as the people of God comes. Why I love so many of you. You've decided, I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. I'm no good at it, but I'll give it a go. The moment you say that, his presence comes to help you and guide you. So you're not just a consumer anymore. You're a helper. You become, would you believe it, a deliverer like Christ. And it says in the book of Mark, he says, whoever does these things, because one of the disciples said to him, we've given everything to you. He said, oh, if you've given everything to me, he said, then you will receive 100-fold in this life of, sisters, brothers, mothers, of children, of land. You will receive it. It says there will be challenges, there will be persecution, but you will receive in this life. And then it says in the next life, you can be sure you get eternal life. Let's close our eyes and pray.